So if man is called flesh,
Mm.
you take him as just flesh now?
No, that's when he's alive.
Okay, so man, while he might be called flesh at one point, he's also called spirit and different things like this. So which one do we take? Do we take them part for a whole, or what do you want me to believe now? 'Cause
No, I just want you to believe what God says. So notice that in 19 he says, in the sweat of your face you shall eat bread. And it says, till you return to the ground. So that's a location, isn't it? Yeah, so the ground is,
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so then it says, for out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you shall return. So what do you think God means when he says, dust you shall return?
he's talking about his body.
Yeah, and we'll return to what?
Well, I believe the body goes to dust.
Right, okay, so there you go. So you're not going to do much with dust, are you? And we also know that when someone's buried, that they end up their body ends up getting eaten by some plants, and then some people can end up eating those same nutrients from their body. So then, if we try and make it the body that they had as a human specific, you're going to have a hard time, locating it, since a part of their body will now become in another person who's eaten some of the nourishment from it.
I can guarantee you're going to go back into your body after you die.
What, the same one that's going to be eaten by worms, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so have you got the one where it says the worm eating one that's the one that's going to come back?
Are you talking about in damnation, the worm doesn't die?
No, it's just the one that the worm eating body that's in the ground, that is that same one that people come back in.
Yeah, Jesus went back into his, and as well, Abraham believed in that when it pertained to Isaac, and we have examples of even mortal resurrections. I mean,
Right, but then Jesus, obviously in the Psalm it said about David said the one about the soul not seeing corruption. So Jesus specifically, his body, I mean, didn't see corruption, but then everyone else does.
the body has corruption, yeah.
Yeah, so you're saying we're supposed to come back in that body that's seen corruption.
God put back the mortal body for the saints. I mean, you read this in Matthew where it says the bodies of the saints that slept, they even went back into their bodies. And that's just the mortal flesh. We also see this with Elijah and Enoch, the two witnesses, they'll go back into their bodies. So how many examples do you want, I guess, is my... So you have one where Jesus didn't receive any corruption physically. And then you have these other examples too of resurrections just in the mortal flesh. I mean, women receive their dead raised to life again. Now, your belief, if I'm not mistaken, if it is the same as Will's, Will was teaching that God has to bring you back into existence with all your thoughts, the recognition of your family members, and all of this. And you don't think he can put the body back together?
Yeah, but from what though?
Well, like you said, I mean, and it's thermodynamics, it's science. Nothing goes out of existence. It changes its course within nature, so God can just pull it right back together.
Yeah, but the problem is because our bodies rot, and then the molecules themselves can end up in another person. Who would God give a specific molecule to?
Well, I mean, at this point, you're taking away from any sort of divine power associated. You're looking for a naturalistic idea. For example, like I mentioned to you in Ezekiel 37, it talks about these dry bones. Now you say it's a parable, though in the text they did actually carry the bones of Joseph. And why do you think they were doing that? Because they actually found it to be worth the precedence, because they did believe in things like the resurrection and burial sites and so on and so forth. So my point is that you think different things could be sorted out on a molecular level. Well, you're going to look at this scientifically. This is a miracle.
Yeah, but the problem is that if he's not using the same molecules that are in this Earth, which is going to disappear anyway, then that means it's not the same body.
Well, in the resurrection, where all the graves will hear the voice of the Son of God, that's mortal to immortality, so that would even be easier. The ones I was mentioning prior would seemingly be harder from where you're trying to figure this out, how this is even possible. Well, all things are possible with God, but it even says it anyway. So if you just want to take your own advice and believe what it says, you can go to Matthew 27:52, and that will also give you the reference point of a body being asleep, not your thought process. And then you would be good to go on Revelation, and you could carry on and still be a Unitarian if you want. I mean, you just believe in the resurrection. Because what you'll find is you have no way to explain what Paul said when he said, we will not all sleep, but we will all be changed. See, what you guys are believing apparently is that when you physically die, your soul is basically, you're just not thinking or whatever. So you have to die and then you become like some sort of spirit being. That's at least Will's belief. Whatever you believe is your own business, I suppose. Though that can't be the way death works, because Paul says we will not all sleep, but we'll all be changed. So Paul is only referring to the body. He's not referring to any state of existence of your person. He's referring to just the body, because he says we're not all asleep, but we'll all be changed. All he's talking about is a change of the body. He's not saying you're going to leave a physical body and you're going to be a spirit being for eternity. It's nonsense. And I mean, it's just.
But here's the interesting thing. Paul, you just said that. Paul just said that we should not all sleep. And then if we read this Matthew 27, and then 51 to, it says, then behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth quaked, and the rocks were split, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the graves after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. So, but I don't know if you realize this just agrees with Daniel more than you, because notice it says that the bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. So where were their souls?
Their souls are in Hades. That's what the Bible says.
Their souls?
Yeah, because that's the verse I was mentioning about just the body being asleep.
All right, but but are their souls, when it says the graves were opened and many of the bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised, so what did the soul were inside their body when they were raised?
Yeah, at that point, of course.
Oh, okay, so then that agrees with me and Daniel then. So we're.
No, because you said prior to that in your doctrine, their soul was asleep as well, but that verse says only their bodies were asleep.
No, it said the saints who had fallen asleep.
No, it says their bodies were asleep.
Yeah, no, but notice what it says: many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep. Notice it doesn't say many bodies of the saints whose bodies had fallen asleep. It doesn't say that.
No, it's saying exactly what I believe. It's just that you don't believe it. I'm not going to let you get around that one. I mean, it's specific. It's the body that was asleep.
No, you're misreading it. It doesn't say many sleeping bodies either. It says many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep. So who had fallen asleep, the saints or the bodies?
The body.
That's not what the text says.
But that's what it says.
Yeah, but it says saints who had fallen asleep.
Yeah, it's referring to their bodies. That's what the text says.
No, see, that's what you're doing. So this is what essentially happens is you have a set doctrine, and each text that you read has to align with it, even if the text doesn't quite match up, but you'll make it match anyway.
Well, so my text actually says that it's the body, and your text out of Daniel does not say the soul. So I would say you also have a set doctrine, and I guess we'll both be judged for whether I'm right or you're right.
No, if you're, because what you're doing is you're forcing the text to match what you want it to. So let's see how the Greek goes. So it says,
Well, I mean, in all fairness, aren't you doing the same thing though?
no, I'm trying to match the text. So I'm saying
Yeah,
saints who fell asleep.
yeah. So I'm saying it's their bodies that were asleep.
Okay, so let's see if the Greek helps you. So it says, and the tombs were opened, and many bodies of the having fallen asleep saints. So it's the saints who fell asleep, even in the Greek. So it shows you what's happening is your belief it changes the text in front of your eyes. So you refuse to read the text as it's written, but instead it has to mean what you believe it means, rather than how it's written down.
Yeah. So at the very best, from my perspective, all I see you doing is projecting your same style on me. So we're both doing it. One of us
No,
is right, one of us is wrong,
no,
because it's quite obvious that saints in the Bible were, aware of things outside of their bodies. So then the only way, and it's in the text, it's the body that was asleep.
you said they
Because
were.
Paul says we will not all sleep, but we will all be changed.
Yeah, he says sleep. So you're saying when he says that, he's talking about only the body that's sleeping.
Of course, because how else would it happen when Jesus returns? Are you saying that if you were quote unquote alive when Jesus returns, that you're going to leave your body to become a spirit being? Is that what you're saying?
No, it says the body will be transformed.
Okay, so you believe that you'll be in your body for eternity, it'll just be different?
No, the text specifically says, remember what Jesus said about what the saints would be like in heaven?
Yeah, Jesus compared this the way Paul did. He compared it to a seed coming out of the ground. So you were talking about this a little bit. You wanted a little bit of science earlier. So let's take the science that they went by. So they said a seed, as it brings forth the fruit and all that, and how you could witness that, that's how it's going to be. That's not a man becoming an angel. Okay, so that is just a heresy. If you think you're going to be an angelic being of sorts, despite what I'm not saying you believe everything that Will believes. That's what Will said. If that's what you think is going to happen, that's totally false. That's not what Jesus means.
Not what he means.
Of course not, because he's referring to being as angels because there's no more physical death. As, of course, angels aren't even physical to begin with. They don't even die. So that's why you're likened onto them in that respect.
Right, okay, but I still want to go back because you say you read the Greek. So you're telling me in this 2752, when the Greek says kekoimenon hagion, which means having fallen asleep saints, what does the term having fallen asleep saints mean?
And many bodies of the having fallen asleep saints arose.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a perfect participle. So yeah.
Mm.
That, seems fair. So the body is still your body, right?
Yeah, but who's asleep? Who fell asleep?
Well, of course, the person is going to be associated with their body, right? You can't subtract the fact that it's not your body.
Yeah, but it wasn't the body.
So,
But that Greek doesn't say it's the body that fell asleep, is it? It's the saints are the ones who are having fallen asleep, isn't it?
well, I believe, of course, that the person left their body.
Okay. So this text is wrong then.
No, it's right, because if you're looking at a dead body, it's still that person in the respect that you're going to go by their name, for example. So St. James, his body would still be James, but it's not animate.
Right. But at least, so here we have good old Matthew is agreeing with Daniel. So that's it. So now you can change over to the truth of the Bible that the person is with their body and it's the person that's going to come out of the ground. So that's it. So see, that's a victory. Isn't it?
No, because Abraham was speaking outside of his body.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Why can't you don't want to accept the nice simplicity of the Bible. You have to, say all these other extra things. That's the thing.
Well, all right. So here you believe that Jesus did not actually raise his body from the dead, even though he said he was going to do that. And I've heard you go through that with Anthony before, and Anthony did correct you on the way you're using the Greek. Okay. And I don't think you received it. Maybe you did after the fact. And so you in that case used it wrong. Here, I don't think you are. I just don't think you're seeing it as, of course, if you're talking about the tomb of Jesus, you're going to be talking about it being Jesus and his body, but you're not going to be talking about his soul because his soul was in Hades. It wasn't in a sepulcher of a rich man. If you think the sepulcher of a rich man was Hades, then that would be a belief, but you would also have to say that those go together and match them up. Because, like you say, you got to match them up. So the body of the saint was asleep. Now, if you think that's impossible to believe from what it says in Matthew, I disagree with you. Obviously. And I still think it's the saint, but I say that a saint is a tripart being. I think a sinner is a tripart being. So I'm not going to, Paul said it was your body, your soul, your spirit would be sanctified. If you don't think there's any separation from those, I don't know why a soul would be under the altar in heaven and them asking for their blood to be avenged. And then in Revelation 20, it talks about the resurrection back into their body. So I don't know. To me, it seems just as easy if we're talking about who can make it easier.
But you just said resurrection back into their body.
Yeah, of course. If you're going to be changed, it's got to be, you need one element for a change.
Right. Okay. I suppose you can check that one as well then. So that's first. Let's see what Paul says then. He said the same Paul you're saying about being absent from the body. Right. So this is 1 Corinthians 15 and 42 says so also is the resurrection of the dead. The body is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body, and so it is written, the first man Adam became a living being. The last Adam became a life-giving spirit. So when Paul says it's sown a natural body and it's raised a spiritual body, what do you think he means there?
He goes through these different ways to explain how we would be able to comprehend it from our vantage point. So in this case, we would understand spirit as something that wouldn't die.
Mm.
And some of the other examples, corruption, incorruption. Let's see, what are some of the other examples? They all follow the same suit. They're just different explanatory devices and paradigms.
Right. So you. All right. So I'm not sure what you meant there, but I'm gonna go to continue. So it says 46 says, however, the spiritual is not first, but the natural, and afterwards the spiritual. The first man was of the earth, made of dust. The second man is the Lord from heaven. As was the man of dust, so also are those who are made of dust. And as is the heavenly man, so also are those who are heavenly. And as we have borne the image of the man of dust, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly man. So if these believers who used to born the image of the man of dust then bear the image of the heavenly man, where would the bodies they have come from?
Where their body come from?
Yeah, when it's raised spiritual.
Well, it starts with the seed, and then when it's raised, it has its, I don't know what they call it, coming to fruition, or whatever they might say. So the heavenly man, if you look at Jesus, his body went from mortality to immortality. So he took part in both, and we take part in both.
Right, but then when it says in 48, it says, and as is the heavenly man, so also are those who are heavenly. So these people who are heavenly, what form will they have? Or what type of body will they have?
An immortal body.
Right, but where will it be from?
Where will they be from?
No, the body, where will it be from?
From the grave.
Oh, from dust.
Well, it's not going to be dust anymore, but it will, in that sense, if you would like it to speak to you in that way, because you go back to dust, that would probably be a poetic way of saying it, yeah.
So those bodies won't be from heaven.
No, angels don't have bodies, so it can't mean that.
Oh, so what's the statement? So are all those. So it says, and as is the heavenly man, so also are those who are heavenly. And as we have borne the image of the man of dust, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly man. So when we bear the image of the heavenly man, it's going to be in a dusty body.
No, right? Dust would not equivocate immortality to us.
Right, so it's going to be in a heavenly body, isn't it, according to Paul?
Well, Paul's referring obviously to Jesus when Jesus is said to be an immortal body right now.
Oh, no, but I don't think you're reading this properly. So if we go back to 47, it says, the first man was of the earth, made of dust. The second man is the Lord from heaven. So that's Jesus. So now, so now in 48, Paul does a comparison. He says, as was the man of dust, so also are those who are made of dust. So he's comparing the first man of dust to the others who are made of dust. Then it says, and is the heavenly man, so also are those who are heavenly. So he's Paul's doing a comparison between the heavenly man, who is Christ, and the other people who are heavenly.
No, he's doing a comparison, speaking of the Lord as the quickening spirit, right? So you believe that Jesus is going to come back as a quickening spirit as far as function?
Well, we can just, the text is telling us, it says the last Adam became a life-giving spirit. So.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So he says all the graves will hear his voice.
Yeah.
So then that would be a time of changing.
Right, but
So
I'm
then we
still
would be like him.
okay. But you know this First Corinthians 15. I don't know if you want to read verse 48 and just tell me what you think it means.
Yeah, as is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy. And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly.
Right.
So we're going to bear the image of both.
No, but so we're going to be the image of the man of dust and the man of heaven.
Yeah, Jesus is the man.
But we're going to still bear Adam's image, the man of dust?
No.
No, but then that's different from what you just said.
No, what Paul is saying is Adam in the paradigm is the mortality, and Jesus in the paradigm is the immortality.
Yeah, so then how can someone bear both then?
You don't bear them both at the same time. Jesus didn't. We can agree on that.
So what do you mean when you say bear both then?
I'm sorry, bear both?
Yeah, because that's what you said before, that we bear both of the image, the first man, yeah, the image of the man of dust and the image of the heavenly man.
Yes, we don't bear both simultaneously. That's not what I said, nor that's what I meant. What I meant was we, of course, bear the first earthy, and then we die physically, and then we'll also now take on the heavenly in the future.
Right. But
yeah.
But then when we take on the heavenly, where would that body have come from?
It comes from the grave. It's changed at the grave, like Jesus was.
Right. Okay. So right. But then when they're changed, the second form, will that have any of the dust or the earthy in it?
No, I've already said that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we'll have new. No, so then where's this? I know some Trinitarians keep saying that that Jesus is human in heaven and other people are human in heaven. So it sounds as if you don't believe that one. Then I suppose that's good.
You're going to begin to hear some strange things when you look it up in your scripture. If it's not matching with scripture, it's from the devil. Brothers and sisters, it's from the devil.